Most people think net worth is one number. That's why they wake up at 35 with money in the bank and still feel exhausted, isolated, and stuck. Because your life is compounding in three different directions at the same time, and most people are only tracking one. Every habit you repeat, every room you stay in, every person you spend time around, every hour you let disappear, every dollar you don't invest. It's all compounding somewhere. The scary part, the graph looks flat for years, and then suddenly, it isn't. By the end of this video, you're going to see exactly where your three ledgers are moving right now. And one of them is probably moving in a direction you haven't checked in a long time. Most people think compounding is a finance word. Stocks, interest rates, retirement accounts. But compounding is much bigger than money. It's the invisible force that turns tiny repeated actions into an entirely different life. And whether you realize it or not, your entire future is being shaped right now by three separate ledgers running in the background every single day. Ledger 1, your financial life. Ledger 2, your body and mind. Ledger 3, your relationships and environment. These ledgers don't grow separately. They multiply each other. One strong area pulls the others upward. One collapsing area quietly poisons all three. And most people spend their 20s aggressively building one while accidentally destroying the others. Picture someone at 38. Good salary, 401k is fine, resume looks solid, but they haven't had a real conversation with a new person in 2 years. They haven't trained consistently since their 20s. They feel foggy by 2 p.m. every single day. They're not depressed, exactly. They're just dimming. And the worst part, they can't explain why. Everything looks fine on paper. That's not a money problem. That's what happens when two of your three ledgers run on empty for a decade while you were only watching the third one. Compounding doesn't stop because you stopped paying attention. It just keeps going in whatever direction you pointed it. Most people delay investing because they think it starts when they finally have enough money. That's backwards. Investing starts the second you stop consuming your entire future in the present, because every dollar has two jobs: what it buys today and what it could have become later. And the gap between those two numbers becomes terrifying over time. Let's keep this simple. $100 a month at age 22 into an S&P 500 index fund, historical average returns. By your 50s, roughly $200,000. Start 10 years later, closer to $75,000. Same amount, same discipline, different timeline. You didn't lose money, you lost time. And compounding cares about time more than effort. But honestly, the money isn't even the most important part. The real value of building this ledger early is psychological, because when you have nothing compounding in the background, every decision becomes desperate. You tolerate jobs you hate. You stay in situations you've outgrown. You become terrified of risk because survival is sitting on your shoulders every month. Even small investments change that, not because they instantly make you wealthy, but because they slowly buy you breathing room. And breathing room changes everything. You stop making decisions from fear. You start making them from choice. But here's where most ambitious people make a quiet, expensive mistake. They build this ledger, and while they're proud of that, their second ledger is collapsing underneath them. Picture someone successful, good income, good resume, looks productive online, but they're exhausted, brain fog, terrible sleep, constant stress, dopamine wrecked from screens, running on caffeine and momentum. That's not success. That's a high-functioning system actively decaying. You can rebuild a business. You can recover from losing money. But try rebuilding your brain after 10 years of stress, sleep deprivation, overstimulation, and neglect. That bill always arrives eventually. Your body and mind are not side quests. They are the engine. Everything runs through them. Your decisions, your patience, your discipline, your creativity, your emotional control. When the engine breaks, everything else follows a few years later. And here's the dangerous part. Personal compounding is invisible at first. 3 workouts? Nothing changes. Reading 10 pages a night? Nothing changes. Sleeping properly for 2 weeks? Nothing dramatic. The graph stays completely flat. That's why people quit. But then one day, the person who stayed consistent suddenly thinks clearer, looks sharper, speaks better, moves differently, has more patience, more discipline, more confidence, and everyone else calls it luck. It wasn't luck. It was compounding nobody could see yet. Now, the third ledger. Most people hear money and personal and think, okay, I'll open a brokerage account and set a 6 a.m. alarm. And they miss the one that actually multiplies the other two. Every real opportunity you can name, the kind that actually changed someone's direction, came through a person. Not a cold application, not an algorithm, a person. The friend who mentioned an opening before it was listed, the random conversation at an event that became something real 2 years later, the person you helped with no agenda, no angle, who remembered. That's how life actually moves. And here's where it gets serious. Researchers have studied social connection for decades. The finding is consistent. People with strong, genuine social connections live on average 7 years longer than people who are isolated. 7 years. That's more impact than quitting smoking. Your social ledger isn't a nice to have. It's infrastructure. And yet most people let it run completely on autopilot. Same 4 rooms, same 5 people, same conversations on a loop. Then wonder why nothing changes. Environment is not background noise. Environment is identity forming in real time. Spend enough years around ambitious people, disciplined people, people with real standards, and eventually their standards become yours. Without effort, without force, without motivation videos at midnight. The opposite compounds just as aggressively. Low standards become normal. Excuses become normal. Cynicism becomes normal. And slowly, your future shrinks without you noticing. The specific investment that moves this ledger fastest, put yourself in rooms with people 1 or 2 levels ahead of where you are. Not to pitch them, not to perform for them, just to be in that proximity consistently. The bar to get into those rooms is lower than you think. People who are serious are genuinely happy to talk to someone who is curious and not asking for anything. Real interest in another person is rare enough to be memorable. Start now, not when you're impressive, not when you have a title or portfolio to justify your presence. Interesting people are welcome everywhere. And interesting starts with being interested. Here's what most people miss. These 3 ledgers are connected, but not just in theory. Let me show you how this actually works. Someone starts training consistently, 6 months in. No dramatic physical changes yet. But their sleep improves, their cortisol drops, their emotional regulation gets sharper. And then something unexpected happens. They stop panic selling when the market dips. They stop making impulsive financial decisions at 11 p.m. when they're tired and anxious. Their portfolio stops bleeding. They didn't change their investment strategy. They changed their body, and it fixed their finances. That's the multiplier. One input. Returns in a place they never expected. The same chain runs in every direction. When your finances stabilize, your stress drops, your decisions improve, your relationships get easier because you're not operating from desperation. When your relationships improve, your ambition expands, your information network grows. Opportunities start finding you instead of the other way around. Everything feeds everything. And the reverse is just as real. A burned-out mind destroys financial discipline. Isolation kills motivation before it starts. Financial desperation poisons long-term thinking. That's why some people look successful on paper and feel completely empty in real life. One ledger grew, the others quietly collapsed. Most people think their future gets built through massive decisions. It usually doesn't. It gets built quietly, daily, repeatedly, automatically. Your life is already compounding right now. The only question is whether you're pointing it towards something you actually want or toward a version of yourself you won't recognize until it's too late. Money, personal, social. 3 ledgers, all running right now whether you're paying attention or not. Most people track one. The people who win long term build all three at the same time. I'll see you in the next one.